Hey, my name is Lizzie Smiley, and I absolutely love helping people connect with their calling and all the tools they need to kick roadblocks and excuses right out the door so they can cultivate the life they dream about. If you want to launch, grow, pivot, or scale your Etsy shop, or you've always wanted to develop the mindset and skills to run your own business, then I'm your girl. I've had that entrepreneurial spirit going strong since my very first lemonade stand, and now I'm a work-at-home mama with multiple online companies and a full-time Etsy shop, all while being present with my kids for the everyday chaos and most important milestones. On this podcast, we'll talk about all things business, mindset, Etsy, creativity, dazzling our customers, and so much more. There's plenty of room at this table for you, so scooch on in and let's go. I'm holding nothing back. Welcome to How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. I'm so glad you're here. Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast this week. I'm so excited to be sitting here with you and hang out for the next little bit to talk about Etsy. This is such a fun episode for me. Our guest this week is Blake McDaniel, who is the co-owner and founder of the shop Rooted and Grounded. And so a little personal backstory. If any of you have taken my Etsy course where I show you exactly how I built, like a six-figure shop, I show you how to research like the best sellers and the best selling shops in your niche to be able to figure out how to create your own space in that niche, right? You use the research that you do to figure out how to position yourself and the tweaks that you need to make to your own shop in order to be really successful. Well, Rooted and Grounded is one of the shops that throughout my 6 years of selling handmade signs on Etsy that I studied and kept track of very closely. And I wasn't there to copy. That's not integrity, and that's not what I suggest. But you do have to, just like in any marketplace, you have to pay attention to what the trends are and to what's working really well so that you can create your own happy spot in that space. And so Blake's shop is one of the top shops that I studied for years and years and years to keep track of what's doing really well, because they were always really far ahead of me, like way, way, way more successful than me. They absolutely killed it. They still do. And I studied them so carefully and watched everything that they did so that I could be inspired and then go look at my shop and figure out, how can I do things with as much excellence? So like I teach you how to do that in my course, but the point is that Blake, this is like a fangirl episode for me because I've DM'd with her a few times, but I've never actually talked to her until today. I'm very excited. And she's going to be sharing so much more about what I've always loved to know, but I just know that she does things with such excellence. So they started their shop in 2017. It is a home decor shop now. It started as a wall decor shop, just like mine. They grew from their garage, and then now they're in a warehouse that employs 10 people. They have over 100,000 sales on Etsy. They have an amazing Instagram. They have their own website. They've built an email list. Like they really have, now they have like 3 Etsy shops as well that are all functioning. They have really built quite an empire, and it's been amazing to watch. So all in the midst of all of this, Blake also homeschools her 3 children. So I don't know. She is Wonder Woman. They obviously have an amazing team. She works together with her husband. So I'm really excited. This is a much more personal episode for me. You're going to see a bit of a different side of me, partly because I'm fangirling and partly because I'm about to have this baby. And so I'm really excited to share this time with you. I think there's going to be so many amazing takeaways. Blake is just lovely. She's a different energy from me. She's very calm and soothing, and they've just done amazing things. So I'm super excited to just pull back the curtain. Please help me welcome Blake to the show. Hey, Blake, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm just only over here fangirling. I'm so glad to have you, and have been dreaming about this forever. So thank you for saying yes. You were a bit of a stretch for me to ask. I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, sure.
Well, I think it's a riot, and I think that our listeners are going to get so much out of your story. And I will put this little like plug. So you guys listening need to know that I have been following Blake's shop since I opened mine, or a little after that. So since 2016, and I learned so much from just studying her. So that's like a little teaser for you guys. Like, it's just kind of funny to like look back now. that we're getting to interview and hear your whole story, because from the more technical side, you were totally one of those shops that I studied, because I'm like, this person's doing this with integrity. Their work is beautiful. This is if there was anyone I wanted to model after, it would be Blake. So
Oh, well, thank you.
you're welcome. And I think it's just so fun that they get to hear from you directly when I studied you for all those years. So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
And I would love for you to share, like, from your perspective, like, tell us your Etsy story. How did you get started? What are the early days like? Because for most of us, they're brutal. And then how did that kind of lead till today? Like, how would
Okay.
you, tell your story?
So what you don't know, and maybe you do, but I had an Etsy shop with my sister-in-law called Rare and Beautiful Treasures, and we sold wood signs. And it was a hobby for us. We had fun with it. I had two littles at home and homeschooling then as well. And she was my new sister-in-law, and so we got to do it together. Anyway, so it was a hobby, and it came to a point where I got busy, and I felt like the Lord had told me to take a step back. So she took over. I took a step back, and we in that transition had decided to move to Georgia. We were living in Florida at the time.
Oh my
My
gosh.
husband had a business, and we were just like, okay, well, we have to do something else. What can we do? And he, looked at the shop I had been doing with my sister-in-law, and then like other shops on Etsy, and he's like, well, we can make something of this. And he's more business like. And so we started. So when we moved, we had sold his business in our home there, and we bought a home in Georgia. And we were at a place where we had like almost 2 years to make something work. And so we started Rooted and Grounded, and we were like, this has to work. So that is our story. We started in our home, and yeah, like figuring out packaging, like cutting Walmart boxes. We've so evolved from the
Yes,
beginning days,
I did
but
that too.
you're like, shipping is so expensive, like trying to figure that out, adding that into the prices. Doing what we love with a mixture of what people are wanting to buy at the moment. So yeah, so we moved, and we had to make this shop work, and we trusted the Lord, and it worked out.
Okay, so first stages, I need to know how many, since you just have a sign shop like I used to. I need to know how many parallels there are. Was this like your husband was building everything and you were doing all the artwork?
So I was designing everything, but I was out there in the garage with him painting and stenciling, and at that time we're using vinyl, like just yeah. So it was both of us, all hands on deck, like just cutting boxes together and like doing everything together.
Did your hands get so sore all the time?
Yes, I would think there was like times where you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, doing
The
this.
daubing, it's like the
Yeah.
sponging where you're pounding on the thing.
Yes, yeah. So, but then where my husband comes in is like that's the way I was doing it, and then he's good at like investing in things that we need to make it easier to do it faster. So, like getting sprayers and all that kind of stuff was extremely helpful.
Okay, so you started with stencils and vinyl. And so, like, you literally would use the vinyl and then throw it away and then literally make a new one for every sign, cut a new one for every. Oh
Yes,
my gosh.
yes, yeah, which was so much to the point where it was like, this doesn't make sense anymore, and that's why we wanted the printer, but it was like, when it makes sense to get the printer, we will. So we were still in our home. We got a smaller printer that we could do like half the sizes in. So like,
Okay.
your home's
Yep.
your workspace, and it was like just getting we I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, we had two guys that we ended up hiring to work at our house, and one of them's still with us today. But just the fact that they were willing to work for us, I mean, and support their families, like working out of our home, was crazy. So, but we explained our vision, and they knew it, and so, but and now we're working out of a warehouse. But so yeah, so we would just make the step of like there was a big printer in our house that would do a certain size, and so then once we moved to the warehouse, we were able to get the huge printer, to the flatbed printer, to where we're able to print everything now.
Oh my gosh. This is all way too real for me. I can relate to, I can literally feel your steps. Was a sprayer kind of in the interim? You went from like a little like a sponge daubing and then you were using a sprayer and then you upgraded to a printer?
Basically, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine the iterations that all of that took because I never had the guts to. We looked at so many printers, we saved up for like we literally, and I could never bite the bullet. Um, okay, so did you have like an artistic background, like, or was this just happening?
No,
Okay,
no,
no.
no. No. So, yeah, like when I first started doing the signs as a hobby, it was just with, the silhouette, just creating the cameo silhouette and creating the stencils, like, because I got into the whole farmhouse theme and watching Fixer Upper.
Thank you, Joanna. Yes, I knew it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and then, it's just so evolved. So yeah, when I have to, like, this behind me is hand lettered. So we have my friend who we go to church with, who works for us doing customs. She hand letters, and we're able to take her hand lettering and create signs with it. But other than that, like, I've just learned Illustrator as we go and designed things as, like I see in my head and get inspiration for other things. But no, I have no graphic design background, no design background except for enjoying decorating my home. And
Okay, you've got the interior, you got the decorating. Okay, because I feel like you've got a really strong eye for it. You always have, as long as I followed you.
well, thank you. Yeah, I would just, I just think it's a gift. I don't think that, like, I've definitely learned things over the years, but yeah, I enjoy it.
Okay, this is kind of the perfect segue because okay, if we didn't come from like specifically a painting background, designing like in your past, how did you choose your niche and get really refined about that? Like, what made you? It was the design passion, I guess.
So yeah, it was. And when that home that we sold in Florida when we moved to Georgia, like, I was into decorating at the time, and still am, but it was like beautiful, and we had just redone it, but it was like I'm always trying to like perfect it or keep up with it, and like wanting it to be like picture perfect and everything. And it's like I'm home all day, like I work, and well, then I was home all day, stay at home mom, and now I'm juggling work and being a mom, homeschool mom. But we're home, like we're home so much, and why not have our home speak to who we are and feed me and encourage me throughout the day, versus looking at my home and being, I mean, when the dishes are dirty and you need to pick up, you are like, hey, I need to pick up. But it's nice to have something in your home that reminds you of what's important. And to me, that's, scripture and encouraging words. So that's what I wanted to create it with Rooted and Grounded. Was, yes, we do sell those popular sayings, like, in the very beginning, it was like stay a while and be our guest and everything for those key search words on Etsy. Like, you just have to have those so people find you. But I wanted to be known for scripture and encouraging words that would remind you of God's promises.
Was that totally driven by just like your own faith and you feeling drawn to that? Or was that also driven by like trends you were seeing on Etsy? Like, were you kind of going with your gut or were you following data or both?
That was that's what I wanted. That's what was in my heart to do.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, those popular scriptures are pretty good keywords on Etsy, but there's been many things that, were not, that have like the look for Christ sign,
Oh, I've
and
never
you
seen
will
that.
find him, and with everything else. That spoke to my heart right away, like our first year in the shop. And we've seen people use that now, and it was nowhere. So but I love that quote. And But yeah, so there's been things that I guess you could say have been made popular by us, but I don't know. I just, we just do a mixture. Like we just do a mixture of like what we really want to put out there and then what we also know that people are looking for, and both get bought.
Oh, that is such a good tip that you just dropped there, because it was the same way for us. Like, I definitely had things that I wanted to have. I
Mhm.
wanted to design. I wanted to have available, and they wouldn't sell all the time, but they
Right.
sold enough. And then there were the ones that just took off and everybody wanted, and that kind of supplied the gap. But it allowed me to be who I wanted to be in my business, and also make it really profitable. So I think that's so helpful. Like, I think so many people coming into Etsy are thinking there's either one or two extremes I've noticed as a coach is either they want to do their own thing no matter
Mhm.
what, but nobody's shopping for it or buying it, and
Right.
they're frustrated, but they don't want to change because they want to do their own original thing. And I'm like,
Right.
well, you have to follow the market. Or it's the
Right.
other extreme, and they're really just like, where's the money at? And I'm just going to do everything that looks like it's a
Yeah.
trend, you know? And I
Yeah.
actually think that the sweet spot is in the middle, where
Mhm.
when a shopper comes to your shop, they can feel you.
Right.
They can see where your personality is. It feels genuine. It
Yes.
feels more authentic than just like you're just trying to sell to everybody. And I mean, both can work. I've seen both work really well. But I think those
Right.
tried and true shops that like last the test of time, it's because they have a personality to them. So I
Right.
love that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us more, and this is going to be more. I don't know much about this, but your second shop, the RNG Canvas, where you've kind of expanded, like
Mhm.
how did that come about? Because I get asked all the time by um, students, like, when do you need more than one shop? When can you not just keep
Right.
adding? Yeah, so I'd love your thoughts on that.
So, yeah, we did that a few years ago. And what happened was we just, um, with like paid advertising and everything with marketing and stuff, like you only had like a certain ad budget for a day, and like we believe strongly in paying for those ads to be seen. Like that's like one thing that we'd say grew our shop. I think at the beginning for a lot of people it's scary because you may not get traction when you're paying for those ads, and you have to be willing to sort of not waste money, but like not see results from it right away. So Etsy changed the whole ad system, and within that we had to we weren't as in control of it anymore, and so our ad budget was getting spent, and like if we were going to promote these new canvases and everything, we were going to have to create a whole new shop so that we
Oh
could
my
have
gosh.
more ad budget to add to that. So that's really the paid ads is probably the main reason why we switched. Um, or
You
yeah,
just had hit a
made it two
ceiling.
shops. Yeah, we
You hit a
were,
ceiling.
yes, that's a good word for it. We were hitting the ceiling for the ad budget. And so if we were going to grow the canvases, we were going to have to do that.
I wonder if it also ended up benefiting you from an SEO algorithm standpoint, because you a canvas is such a different product than a sign. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like, I wonder if it ended up strengthening you in the long run anyway.
Yeah, maybe. And we actually we actually have another shop now where
Oh,
it's RNG prints, but I think we're changing the name of it because we're doing tapestries. Like it's a huge canvas tapestry. So
wow.
anyway, so yeah, that was the thing. Again, it was like, where do we put these? Do we put them in the wood sign shop? Do we put them in the canvas shop? And then the discussion yesterday was like, if we put them in this other shop, then I have this is from my husband, but he'd have the ad budget then to grow the product. So
So do you think if one of our listeners is like in a much smaller spot and they're nowhere near maxing it, that it's totally fine for them to have those two products in the same shop, so long as they're related? Like,
yes.
I'm don't sell like, antique or like, or vintage books and, wall decor
Oh,
necessarily,
yeah.
but it's all wall decor, right? You just have different
Right.
verticals of
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
You think it'd be
Different
okay?
things. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We actually had the canvases in the wood sign shop
Okay.
to begin with. And
Do you
then
have pillows too? Did I make that up?
we do have pillows. We sell pillows on the website. We actually, have the pillows in a different shop on Etsy. So there are several different shops now. Yeah, so the pillows aren't like anything that we're like actively growing.
Okay.
So they're just like out there at the moment. I think maybe a few ads are turned on, but not completely. So they're there. The shop's probably growing. But are more focused on our pillows on our website because they're
Okay.
like a more like luxurious linen. So that's where our focus is. It's hard to be focused all like that is the only problem with having a few different shops is like, like keeping up with all of them and making all of it look
Yes.
good and checking on keywords and checking on ads. So I wouldn't say that we've done that perfectly, but at the moment we're going over all of it again.
I think one thing that you guys have done so well that I have really enjoyed watching is like your scaling process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I get asked about a lot as well. And so I'd love your insight because you just went so much further than I ever did with the scaling. But can you talk about what that what that was like, what the story was like? It sounds like your husband's
Yeah.
he's like wired that way. But
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more like more details about it.
Yeah. I told my husband he should be on here with me, but
Yes, we'll do it
uh,
again.
yeah. So, I mean, as far as scaling goes, it was just, um, adding, all the products that we have and then, not, um, what's the best words to say this, not like extending shipping time so that we could get, everything done. I've seen that done, but being like, oh, well, if we had more people, if we had the equipment, then we could keep up. And so like always like being in the especially in the very beginning stages, like just trusting the Lord and like being one step ahead of where we needed to be so that we did have that room to grow. So like, we have 3 flatbed printers now. And so when we had one, like my husband would say, Christmas is coming, like we're gonna be like super backed up, like we'll have to like cut things off. And so it was like we need to go ahead and make the decision to get another piece of equipment to get this done. So he is very good at that, and I'm very good at being like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that. um, so yeah, but yeah, I would say like just always doing what you need to do to keep up and not being like, well, we could do this and maybe save a little bit of money here and make more. It's like, no, well, let's go ahead and grow to that next stage and trusting the Lord to fill that pot for us, like fill that space for us. Um,
Okay, so if you've been around the podcast for a while now, you have heard me tell you guys that you shouldn't put all your eggs in the Etsy basket, right? Etsy owns their platform and we are just guests. So it's super important for your longer term business goals to use your Etsy shop to build an email list. That way you can continue to communicate with the people who already love your products and create an asset that will stay with you as you expand your Etsy shop and beyond. The tool that I recommend for this is CraftKit because it compliantly integrates directly into your Etsy shop and will streamline a ton of work for you. Once you have CraftKit set up with your Etsy shop, and it's super simple, by the way, like no high tech confusion or mess, which is a win. Every time you get an order after that, CraftKit is going to pull over your customer's email address and then automatically communicate with them with the messages that you set up ahead of time. So it's going to auto send the messages you create as each transaction milestone occurs in the order process. For example, it's going to send a thank you for your order email, a notification that the order has shipped, a delivery confirmation email, and anything else that you set up within it. I personally love this automation, you guys. Like, it's such a time saver, which is really critical when you become a busy shop. But even better than that, CraftKit is also going to start inviting each and every customer to join your email list. And it makes it super easy for both you and your customer. Once they hop on your list, you can set up a drip campaigns for days, reminding them about your brand and inviting them to revisit your shop. So if Craft Kit has hit your curiosity button, which I hope it has, I made a YouTube tutorial that I will link in the show notes so that you can see a back office sneak peek of exactly how this works. I know that always helps. They offer a 14-day free trial. And if you use my coupon code, which is Smiley, SMILEY, all in caps, you will get a 50% off discount for your first 3 months. So I will link that for you as well. Whatever you do, my friend, cover your own back and start building your email list. You'll thank me later. Golly, did you have times where you had to really like cut back on, I don't know, financial things to be able to do, or did you tend to borrow? Like, how did you make these decisions? That's always so hard, the money part.
So we are working on paying off our printers right now. The
Okay.
company that we bought them from have good, like, loans for them. So we'd look at like the monthly payment of the printer and being like the very first one, it was like, okay, well, we're already spending this much a month on vinyl, so we might as well get the printer. Just balancing. I mean, yes, when we first moved, we weren't. We did have a certain amount of money. It was like, okay, well, we have this amount of time to make this shop work, but at the same time, like, we're just trusting the Lord to make it work
Yes.
for us, and
Courage. Oh my gosh.
so yeah, but He's blessed us. It is grown in those first stages. Like when we first hired somebody, we were just like, I don't like it, we didn't think we'd be hiring anybody for like a year into it, and we hired somebody within 5 months into starting Rooted and Grounded, and so that was like a huge step for us. I remember my husband saying, like, maybe like think about it in a few months, like he could see it coming up to where we needed somebody. And I think it was like shortly, like a few days later, like there's a scripture I read, and it's Isaiah 54 about expand your tents and make room. And so I read that one morning, specifically praying about hiring somebody, and like that was my answer. And then that day I listened to somebody else, like I was just listening to a teaching, and that scripture came up again. I was like, Travis, listen to this. Like, this is what the Lord spoke to me today. So like when you talk about like growing our business, like it's definitely just been like trusting God and making those moves even before we feel ready.
Oh my goodness. And you guys, all my listeners know, they know that I have like a strong faith background, and Blake, you do as well. And I just want to acknowledge like all the different listeners here, and like we've obviously chosen the path of like our Christian faith, but I want you to know that God speaks to everybody. We're all his kids. And so if that feels, off to you or weird to you, or you're like, well, I'm not a Christian, or like this is getting a little woo woo, like this is just us being genuine with you guys, and you know how I always want to be so real with you. But I do want to tell all of you, like listen to your gut, because God speaks to all of his kids no matter what their faith background is. He loves all of us, and I just want you to listen for that still small voice, listen for peace. And you can get the same kind of guidance that Blake is talking about, that you've heard me talk about over and over again. I just want everyone to feel so welcome here, and they can plug into it, because you can. Like he's
Yeah.
our
Absolutely. He's as real as he is to me, he's real to everybody else. So, yeah, I know that that probably doesn't relate to everybody, and they probably want all my, like, to-dos, but that was our to-do.
This is your secret sauce.
Yeah.
This is the truth. So so I just but I love to tell people, like, no, it's okay. It's okay if you're not coming from the same faith background.
Yeah.
Like, you can still tap into this same genius. It's still there for you. God's still speaking to you. So actually, I was just telling my oh, this is such a crazy different episode, y'all. Can you feel it? Can you guys feel? So all y'all know, I'm like getting close to having this baby, and my OB is the most wonderful doctor ever. And I was just seeing her the other day, and she is not a person of faith at all, but we're both just are totally ourselves, and we love each other, and we are complete opposite human beings, but it just works, and we just have no judgment, and we love each other.
Mhm.
But I said to her the other day, because it's true, she would call herself agnostic, and I said to her, I said, you hear God's voice better than most Christians do. And she's got this big smile on her face because she kind of knew what I was talking about. You know what I mean? It was like a really special moment of connection. But I don't know. I just like love to cast that vision for listeners. Like there is this place inside of you that is the holiest place that is connected to God that you can listen to. And just like Blake with these amazing stories of I mean, I've had them too, of God guiding and leading. Um okay, so let's like talk a bit about the team because okay, so this is like a sub question I have too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think adding people first is wise, or adding equipment first is wise, or does it just totally depend?
I think it just depends on your business and what you're doing at the moment. So our first was hiring someone, and then
Mhm.
we hired, and then we got the first printer. But yeah, I think it just depends on what you're doing at the moment.
Okay.
Definitely equipment helps things, makes things easier. So, like,
Yes.
if you can scale with it just being you and your spouse, and you're able to get a piece of equipment that's like helps double like what you're doing, your output, then do that.
And so I would love to know, and we were joking about this before the call, so this is going to be so fun, but this juggling act that you do, this I'll say balancing act, even though that's exactly what we were laughing at, of homeschooling 3 children, managing this business with a team of 10 people. What is all of that like? Like, how does that look? I just can't.
So, like, it's not perfect. It's not balanced. That's what we were saying. It's just like there is no like perfect moment that you come to and be like, everything's perfect. Everything's like here, here, and here. Like, like you're holding a baby, you're texting, you're like, answering a question. Like, it's just, just try doing what you have to do and not getting frustrated if something doesn't get done. We do have a great team here at the shop. Again, like a lot of the people that we've hired, we know from church. So they have like the same background and, beliefs as we do. And some of them aren't, but it's just like it's a fun atmosphere to work in. But, with school, I was saying my kids, are homeschooled, and they have like their things laid out of what they're supposed to do. And me and my husband, really the biggest balance, if you want to call it, is me and my husband. Like we just
Okay.
trade on and off. Like he's at home with the kids now, and I'm up here at work, and then I'm at home with the kids and he's at work. So it's just that. And we try really not to, at the very beginning stages, we were working a lot at home, like just hustling. We were up at night, late, up early in the morning working. And so it's not like that anymore because we have, people have brought, the Lord brought a good team to us, but, so we don't do that anymore. But, there are times where we need to, and you just get it done and it's fine. So just, yeah, so not really focusing on there needing to be a perfect balance, but just letting go of what you can't do at the moment and just doing what you can.
How did you find these people, and train them? Like what how did that work? Because in my experience, it's very difficult, especially to get someone that will stay long enough where you can recoup,
Yeah.
through the training phase.
Yeah. It is a lot of people from our church, like our
Okay.
two main guys. The guy that first started with us, he's over like the sign department area, and his name is Lyle. And so, yeah, he's a great guy. He knew a lot of guys before that he's recommended, and they've come on. And then the other guy his name is Chris, and him and his wife both work for us. And so yeah, he's the worship leader at church. The other guy's the youth pastor at church. So it's been like, so again, like our situation, like trusting the Lord, like for your viewers. Like
Wow.
it's just been like this walk of like, okay, well, we moved to Georgia to go to this church. We
Oh my
moved.
gosh.
So we didn't know why, like we just wanted to go be a part of this church. And it was like, you just have this thing like, I really want to be there. So like to watch it all unfold and be like, okay, well, we have our employees here, like our life is here. And we had no idea like how well it would work out. So that's how it's, worked out. I don't know. It is pretty crazy, like talking about it, but
Right?
yeah.
Because we're all over here with our mouths on the floor. Blake, okay? Like, you're just like, oh, yeah, it just all, like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what do you still do? How do you contribute the most to the business today? Like, knowing you're balancing these things and you do
Mhm.
have a team, what are your responsibilities now?
So mine is mainly our website. So
Okay.
I'm into growing our website, social media, um, all the, most the new designs. I have, Callie who does the hand lettering and another girl, Amber, who works for us, who helps me with designs. But so yeah, I'm just over like the designs and our pictures. Me and my husband,
Okay.
he takes the pictures. I do all the staging. That's been a huge thing for us is our pictures. I
Yours are
mean,
incredible. They're
well, thank you.
phenomenal.
From the very beginning, it was just like, once again, my husband is like the business mind and he is like, we're going to invest in like the best pictures ever. And I'm like, okay, well, like I'm going to stage them and, like buy everything to set it up. But that's been huge for us. We feel like that was one of the, like a tip for somebody listening, like your pictures are everything. Like I feel like him and I both believe like they make or break your shop. Like,
100%.
like people picture it in their own home. Like if they see a beautiful picture, they're more gravitated to your stuff than somebody else's. So pictures are a part of, what I do. So yeah. And
Did you?
email
So
and
you always
marketing.
bought that? Like you staged in your own home? This is like off. So y'all enjoy this moment, but I need to know because I've been watching Blake
Yeah.
forever, and I'm like, where is she finding these incredible settings to take these pictures?
So yeah, so it was first in our home. Like we, did the shiplap wall, so
No.
good pictures for it and stuff. So that is all of our. That's most our home. Some of the newer pictures are up here at our warehouse where we've built a bunch of different background walls and we'll paint them different colors and have props up here for it and everything. So
Oh my gosh. Well, I do think you dropped major gold there with like your husband's line of "We're gonna spend the money for the best possible pictures." Could not have been more brilliant. Like, yes, that it will literally make or break you. Other than making sure that what you're trying to sell is actually selling.
Right. Yeah.
That's
And
the
then
one thing
making
that always
sure it's
cracks me up.
actually something somebody wants to buy, but
Yeah.
yeah, making
And
it
not just
look
that they
the
want to
best
buy,
that
but
it can.
like they're searching for it on
Yeah.
Etsy. I was just doing a shop review the other day for someone who sells it was their she sells crystals, like stuff like the crystals in come on, brain. Um Sun catchers, that's what it is. That's the word I'm
Mm.
looking for. It's crystal sun catchers. And like there are places off of Etsy where those sell like
Mhm.
gangbusters. But on Etsy, there's only about 40 searches a month for it. So
Okay.
you could have something that's even trending in the real world. You could have something that is so beautiful and unique and
Yeah.
handmade, which always wins on Etsy. But if no one's putting that in the little sweet little search
Yeah.
bar, it's not going to matter. And I mean, even if you have pictures you obviously spent money on. So make sure your thing is selling on Etsy.
Right.
A tool like Sales Samurai and Everbee, those kinds of things can help you figure out how many searches there are every month for it. But the point is, do that and then spend the money on the pictures, guys.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Now we get to talk about home decor, and I'm very excited about it. So it's you and I have both watched it. The design trends have changed a ton over the past decade. And I mean, Joanna Gaines created probably one of the most stable trends for a very long time with the farmhouse. But I would
Yes.
love to know, I mean, how, where do you see your niche going? Are you still seeing a lot of interest in farmhouse? How are you studying the progress of this and like watching what's happening on Etsy?
So what I've seen is just that everything's going to like this traditional look, this like modern traditional look. So it's not like the rusticness anymore, or
Sad.
yeah, it's just doing like a traditional, like a more classic look where it, you can see it in like more homes than just like a
Timeless.
farmhouse. Yes, that's a good word, timeless. So art is super trendy now. So we've started adding art, which, our thing is words, but that
Right.
vintage art look is super popular right now. So we've added that in the past year, and that's our tapestries will have a lot of art on them. Um, so yeah, just going for that timeless look. I think people, I'm trying to think. Like I've seen it trend away from farmhouse a lot long, like way
Right?
before
Yeah.
than, like a couple years ago. And
Right.
we started to pivot and everything. But I think there's also still that group of people that still love farmhouse
You're
and
looking at
still
her.
are
I know I
buying
should be
it.
more sophisticated than that, but I'm not.
But it's still popular, but it's just popular in a different font or a different
Yeah.
color. It's just like changing. Like we've had to change fonts so many times. It's like, we look at one font and it's like what great one year, and then I look at it the next year, I'm like, that's ugly. Like we got to
Yeah.
change that. So yeah, things just change. Like when you see it changing, like, you don't have to change out everything of yours at the moment, but just like changing and seeing what works for you and what doesn't work. Um, so yeah, I think,
Introducing little new tastes of things and seeing
yes,
how they do.
yes.
Did you have to learn a whole new skill set with this art interest? Like that was kind of part of why I was like, nope, I'm out. I'm like, I can do the lettering, but I mean, or did you hire someone who could do that for you, or how did you move into that?
We have a few art pieces that we hired somebody for, and this was like we did art pretty in the very beginning. Within like the first couple years, we had a few pieces that we did that, and we put the scripture on there. Lately, what's been huge and what's nice is like the public domain vintage art. So
Wow.
we use that a lot. We'll pull it in and we'll like I get revitalize it and put our filter on it and make sure it's a sharp image. But yeah, we're able to print the art, which is nice. So yeah, but it's something I love. I do love art. I love the trend. I tend to follow the trends. So that's good. I tend to not be like way ahead of the curve, but not way behind.
Just
I'm just
right.
like right ahead. So that's worked out well. But yeah, so like but for us, like with our niche of like words, like pictures, like remind, like I want a mixture, like pictures of sheep remind me of the Lord being my shepherd. And I love that look.
Yeah.
So, I think it'll, work out in our favor, and I want to incorporate it. So yeah, I just think, like modern, traditional, and like you just keeping up with what people are putting up on Instagram, and people who are in that home decor world, like seeing what they're doing and being like, oh, you know what, this would look good with what we're doing, and we can pivot that way. So
Okay, so I hate that we have to wrap this up. I'm having like an actual physical reaction about it. What That's so dramatic today. Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell me, what are a few pieces of advice you would give to someone who's in the earlier stages, just starting out? I honestly, Blake, just in the conversation, you have said so many things that if we're really listening, we're going to gather, like without you giving a list of tips, you have said so many valuable, helpful things. Um, I'm over here just geeking out. So tell me though, if you were going to give a more structured list, what would you tell some of our newbies, people just getting started, to encourage them just and practical stuff, wherever you want to go with it?
So I would just say definitely the keywords are super important. Like you just want to have that balance of, yes, don't burn out and just create everything that you see people selling. Like, create things that you love as well, but also go after those things that people are searching for, because that's where they're going to see you. You want to be seen. And then once they see you, just make sure you stand out with those pictures, because you are competing on Etsy with other people, and there's enough space there for you and them. But if you're going to get noticed, you want to have those perfect pictures where they're like, oh, that looks amazing. And then just don't be afraid to invest. Like, once you start selling stuff, don't be afraid to invest in what you need to do things the right way to scale. And just, follow your heart, follow that piece, and don't be afraid also to invest in ads, and also know that, like, it's just not a thing where you like go from 1 to 100 in five
Yes.
minutes. Like, it takes time, and if you're willing to give it that time, you'll get there.
I think that was like probably the perfect summary of tips you could have given, because all of that is so woven into like your whole core values, mindset, everything that you've already said. Like it actually the way that you just did that shows how thoughtfully your entire business has been laid out from the beginning. It's all very like orderly, but still so beautiful and artistic. So I love that. So what's next for you guys? Like, kind of, I guess you sort of alluded to that. You're moving into yeah, but what is kind of like your bigger vision for how you want to grow next?
Um, so as far as product wise, we are moving into the tapestries. Our biggest focus, I would say, this coming year is going to be our website, where we have
Okay.
shirts on there. We're changing out the shirts. We really want to focus on social media and people getting to know us more. We would love, we've in the past year done a lot more with our emails, and just being encouraging and being, talking more about who we are and what we believe. And so we just really want to dive deeper into that. We would really love to focus on, our products being something that is helpful towards families. We want to focus on families. We want to focus on like kids' home decor this coming year. That's a big thing on my heart. I feel like this year is almost over. So when we talk about this year, it's like I'm also talking into next year too. But yeah, so just, yeah, we love Etsy. We were talking the other day about how thankful we are for it, because that's how we got started. But our focus is going to be our website and the brand, and just getting the word out there about how good God is.
I think that's so wise, because I mean, Etsy has changed a lot, and I still think it's like the best tool out there. But I
Mhm.
do think that building our own websites and being able to leverage our business into that is a really wise way to establish even more security in, like, in
Right.
our livelihoods. And so I love that you're doing that. As someone who's gotten your emails for years, I'd love to get more of them. So don't feel shy. Like, we feel like we're being inundated. We would love to hear from you more.
Well, that's always good to hear.
As your recipients. I always think that. I'm just like, gosh, maybe I shouldn't send another one, but no, please
Yeah.
send us more. We would love to
Oh,
hear
well,
from you more.
thank you.
And then, so where can all of our listeners like find you and connect? What are the best places to like follow you, to buy from you, to be
Yeah,
inspired?
so you can always connect with me on Instagram. That's my thing. So I'm usually the one responding on there, and it's Rooted and Grounded Home. And then our website is rootedandgrounded.com. And so that's where, that's where you'll see our passion. I think you can see, and I've been told you can see our passion on Etsy, but it's a little bit difficult. So you can see more of our passion and who we are on our website, because it's, just laid out there. So yeah.
I will link all of that for you guys in the show notes, as always, to their shop, to their Instagram, to their website, so that you can check it all out and send Blake some love, and just like study and buy and whatever. Our house, I've got to have at least 5 or 6 pieces hanging in this house. They're
That's
yours.
awesome.
I know. Well, first of all, they were so beautiful, but then I also just needed to know how you did. I was so curious. how you did things because it was just so excellently done. And I will tell you, your photos, I mean, yes, obviously your numbers, like I was looking at your like conversion and just agape, like just not like just shocked at how well you were doing in the space. But your photos were what real I was just like, oh, I need to pay attention to this shop for sure. So we love your pieces there. I have a woman cave in our home where I sit
Oh,
and
that's
read and study,
awesome.
and that's where I have all of your pieces because they
Oh,
create the environment that I want.
yeah.
So isn't that
Well, I'm
fun?
so
Another
to
sign
hear
maker would
that.
rather have your stuff up than her own.
Hey, I'm so inspired by other people, and we've ordered other people's stuff. So it is just, yeah, just like you said, you just want to see how they're making it and how they package and see if you need to be inspired in another area. So,
I always felt like the things that we bring in our home, when we do it thoughtfully, not like haphazard, just stuff for the sake of stuff, but the thoughtful pieces we put in our home, they affect the atmosphere. And they do based on how they look, like the words that are on them, because obviously you and I are both words people. But I also feel like they bring an energy into our home. I know this is a little woo-woo, guys, but this is me. But like they bring it, and no matter what you believe, things bring energy into your home.
right.
And so I'm always very excited to experience what another creator's energy is like. And when it's a very like healthy, uplifting, positive energy, it's like it's important and inspiring for me to have around myself because it
Yes.
affects like literally everything.
Yes.
So I think that's so, I think that we should all think about that. The things that we touch and we make with our hands, or even that we design, maybe it's a digital piece or maybe it's a print on demand piece, but like it's carrying part of you into their home. And I always love that because I love to pray for people. And so we would pray over every sign. And I loved thinking, oh, this is going to affect the energy of someone's home in a way that takes life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because like, no matter what people believe, I'm sending them love. It doesn't matter. Like, I have no judgment. I'm like obsessed with everyone. I'm sending them so much love and hope and life.
Yeah.
And so I just can't wait to hopefully one day, and like the next, to me, it's when I get to heaven, to be able to see how much did my energy that I sent out with every piece change that family or that life, or just take any kind of positivity. And I have gotten some crazy stories back about, people on their deathbeds or divorce, like marriages going towards divorce, and something just changed, and they could tell like there was something about reading the encouraging words. They probably didn't even realize there were prayers and good thoughts just penetrating their environment. So I know I've gotten I'm sorry guys, I'm about to give birth.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be woo-woo for a while, y'all, until this baby comes. So Blake, your energy is I like having it in my home. I love having it in my home.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Oh, you're welcome. It was such a joy. So fun. It was so fun to talk through everything. I'm like, man, that the Lord has blessed us and it all worked out.
I love watching your eyes be like, oh my gosh, like kind of almost realize things on a new level. It was so much fun. No, this was such a blast. I enjoyed every second. And like, maybe we need to chew on, next year or something, having you bring your hubby on and doing, it could be kind of fun too if I brought mine as well, because there are so many, we kind of did things similarly, only you're more like him. You all are more calm and your husband and I are more energetic. But anyway, so y'all let us know if you want to hear, if you want us to do something like that. But I mean, I'm probably gonna do it anyway, but let us know, send us feedback, connect with Blake, and y'all, and thank you so much for listening in this week. And Blake, I thank you. I will talk to you soon.
You're welcome. Yeah, we'll talk. Thank you.
Bye, y'all. And that's a wrap on this episode of How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're looking for more resources, head on over to howtosellyourstuff.com, where you'll find podcast show notes, all the links from today's episode, the blog, courses, coaching, and more. If this episode was helpful to you, awesome. The greatest compliment I can receive from you is a rate, review, and subscribe on this podcast. Not only will it allow us to connect again on a future episode, it lets me know I'm providing you with value and helps other people find this content more easily. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your support. Have a great day and see you next time.